I think the NFL has an officiating problem from the point of view of the fan. The fans believe that officiating has never been worse in the National Football League, and that's how I start this conversation. Would you agree with that assessment, Dean Blandino?
I don't know if it's never been worse. I've heard this before. I've been involved in NFL officiating since '95, and we've heard this before. It's worse than it's ever been. It's terrible. It's this, it's that. I think the scrutiny is greater. I think the technology, I think the access that we have, the angles, the technology,
the 4K
everything,
of it all, too.
All of it. And I think there's a disconnect between when you watch a play at full speed on the field from one perspective, and then you take that play and now we're going to analyze it from 4 different angles and super slow motion. There's a disconnect, right? The officials only get that one look. I do feel like we're getting worse on the field because we're relying too much on replay and we're relying too much on technology to help us. And I think we're getting away from the on-field officials and getting them to a point where we don't have to go to replay. We can get it right initially.
Really? So what the point of that is what? That the officials are not focused as they don't need to be as focused in the moment because they know there's a backstop? I
think they're focused, but I think they're relying too much on replay. They have their wireless communication. They have somebody in their ear. They're not being as decisive, and they're wanting help from upstairs or getting help from upstairs. And they're not. I think I've said this before, and I look at it this way, right? Think of the newer cars today. The newer cars today have all the bells and whistles, right? You back up, it beeps. You got the rear view mirror. You got the camera, all that stuff. Drive a car from 1995. Try to pull out of your driveway. Like it's right. We're worse drivers today because we have all this technology helping us, and that's what I think is happening with the officials to some extent. Is we're relying so much. How many plays have you seen where it's a clear incomplete pass, but they don't make a decision and they let it go, right? And then we come back and we have to put it back and reset the clock. So I think we're relying a little bit too much on replay. I think replay is great. I think we need to add it in some instances, but I think we need to work on the officials and getting them back to basics.
Before we get to that, but what about plays that have nothing to do with replay? For instance, how is Josh Allen not being taken down by the back of his jersey and the front of his jersey that is ripped as the son of Ed is staring right at it, man? I mean, and that's so damaging when that happens. Like, he's looking right at it. And those types of plays, Justin Herbert getting hit just as he's going out of bounds or just as he's gone out of bounds. No flag there, but let's flag the offensive lineman that's clearly inflamed by the moment.
Sure,
let's not just let it all play out. Let's just be a robot about it. That sort of stuff. And the conversation I hear out of that is that if there were more year-round reps and conversations, if these folks were full-time employees instead of letting them be moonlighters, then that stuff would be cleaned up. How do you answer that?
I think the idea of full-time officials, it's a term we like to throw around. I think they are as full-time as anyone can be in season, right? I think they are they watch a ton of film. They work hours upon hours upon hours.
Like what? Let's give people an idea of this.
So you're going to work your game, right? You get in the day before. You're going to go through an entire pregame the day before on Saturday. 4 or 5 hours, then you're going to work the game.
Like, what's the pregame though? Like, the players.
You're going through, and that's the preparation during the week. They are scouting the two teams. If we've got the Eagles and 49ers playing on Sunday,
yes, sir.
Okay, that crew is going to look at the last couple of weeks. They're going to look at if those two teams. They'll go back to the playoff game. They'll look at all of those things. Look for trends, just like the teams are scouting their opponents.
Spend time looking at film.
Spend time looking at film, looking at tendencies.
As a group or individually?
Individually during the week because they all live in different places.
Yes, sir.
And I think can we get together now with Zoom, the virtual world? We can do that. They have conference calls. They'll go through. And then on Saturday, they'll go through. Okay, we're going to go through, right? The Eagles, obviously, short yardage. This is the brotherly shove. Here's how we're going to officiate. Here's what they do. All of these different things. So that's what goes into a week of preparation. They get the evaluation of their previous game, from the league office. They're going through that, mistakes they made, things they need to work on, mechanics, positioning, communication, all of that. So they're spending, 30, 40 hours a week looking at that stuff. And it used to be you had a full-time job and you officiated. Now, when you get to this level at the NFL, you're a full-time official and you have a job on the side, or you don't even have a job on the side. I think where they could get better in the offseason, getting officials together more, getting them to OTAs. They go to training camps now. Anytime you can spend more, more time at your craft, you're going to be better. You're absolutely going to be better. So I think that there's an opportunity there, whether we call them full-time or not. I don't know if the term means anything.
What about having them call some of these spring games for other leagues?
Absolutely.
Honestly,
and we've had those conversations. We've had those conversations.
What's the holdup? Money?
I don't
money?
think there is.
Is it money?
I don't think there is. I think you and that's always been, the NFL has more money than they know what to do with, right? So they have to put the resources in. I think spring football is an opportunity. We used to have NFL Europe where officials would go. So I think the new spring football league, right, the XFL, the USFL is merging. I'll be a part of that.
Okay.
I think there's an opportunity there to have, first or second year NFL officials work in that league, or maybe it's an official you're thinking about becoming a referee. I think there's an opportunity there.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.